Chapter 1. Welcome to the Mojave, Morty. The Mojave sun was the kind of brutal that could tan a deathclaw. Somewhere between a dune of irradiated sand and a cluster of tumbleweeds that glowed faintly green, a portal ripped open with a wet electric ZZZAAAAP. Out tumbled Rick Sanchez, reeking of ethanol and quantum residue, followed by Morty, who face-planted into the dust like a dropped sweet roll. Ugh. Rick, where the hell are we now? Everything looks like Mad Max if everyone had sunstroke. Morty groaned, spitting grit. Rick stood up, squinting at the skyline, half Desart, half nuclear ruin, then burped. We're in Fallout, New Vegas, Morty. You know, post-apocalyptic role-playing dystopia? Strip clubs, gambling, radiation poisoning. You'd love it if you weren't such a moral wet blanket. Wait, like the video game? How'd we... Portal gun malfunction. I tried installing the New Vegas Hardcore Mode DLC into reality. Turns out when you mod quantum spacetime, the Mojave takes it personally. Rick tapped the side of his portal gun, which was sparking ominously. We're stuck here until I recalibrate the uranium core capacitor. Need a few hours, or a few centuries, depending on how stupid this world's physics are. Morty glanced around. A skeletal tumbleweed rolled past. Off in the distance, a sign half buried in sand read, "Welcome to Good Springs. Population surviving for now." They trudged toward the small town. A prospector robot rolled by, its voice chip coughing out, "Beep, beep, have a pleasant day, partner," in a tone that sounded like a dying kazoo. "Rick, everything here's broken." Yeah, that's the aesthetic. Rust, ruin, and radioactive nostalgia. People love this crap. At the edge of town, Doc Mitchell, the ever-calm country doctor, stepped out of his clinic. "Well, howdy there, strangers. You folks all right? You look like you've been shot in the head, chewed on, and spat out by a bloatfly." Rick stared blankly. "Doc, I've been shot in the head, chewed on, and spat out by my daughter's marriage, so your local wildlife's got nothing on me." Morty rubbed his temples. We're just passing through." "Well, best you rest up a bit," Mitchell said kindly. "Name's Mitchell. We don't get many travelers since the courier disappeared." Rick froze mid-swig from a Nuka-Cola bottle he'd borrowed from a nearby crate. "Courier, huh? The mailman who changed history? Guy had a platinum chip and daddy issues with every faction in the desert?" Mitchell nodded. Rick grinned, eyes glinting with scheming genius. "Morty, we've landed right in the narrative hot zone. The courier's gone, and that means one thing. Oh God, here it comes. Job opening." The new courier. Within the hour, Rick had cobbled together a courier uniform out of scavenged gear, complete with a satchel full of bottle caps and a Pip-Boy. He hacked into a smartwatch Morty followed, nervously holding a varmint rifle that was taller than he was. "Rick, do we really have to impersonate a mailman in a war-torn wasteland?" "Morty, this isn't just a job, it's a social experiment. We're testing how long it takes for a corrupt political system to collapse when exposed to unfiltered Rick energy. Also, the NCR's paying in pre-war money, and I love vintage inflation." As they crossed the desert outskirts, a gang of powder gangers appeared, ex-prisoners wrapped in dynamite belts, looking like Mad Max extras who lost a bet. Well, look what rolled in," their leader sneered. "Couple of fresh meat bags with shiny toys." Morty panicked. "Rick, I don't—" Before he could finish, Rick pulled out a glowing grenade, yawned, and tossed it lazily at their feet. The explosion was weirdly elegant. Time slowed. VAT style. Rick's pupils dilated, math equations flickering across his retinas as the powder gangers froze mid-scream. Morty blinked. Rick, did you just—" "Yeah, I hacked VATS. It's manual now. Think bullet time, but for people with PhDs and zero empathy." As the dust settled, Morty looked pale. "That was horrible, Rick. They exploded in like cinematic chunks." Rick shrugged. "Welcome to Fallout, Morty. Everyone's one bad decision away from being loot." Good Springs blues. Back in Good Springs, word spread fast that some new courier wiped out half the powder gangers outside town. The locals threw a party. There was whiskey, radio music, and a single, highly confused robot named Victor doing the two-step. Morty sat nervously at a table, surrounded by townsfolk swapping war stories. A farmer leaned in. "So you're the one that saved us from them varmints, huh?" You and your old man got guts, Morty forced a smile. He's not my— Quiet, Morty. Let them mythologize us, Rick interrupted, sipping whiskey from a rusty flask. We're legends now. Legends sell better merch. Then he stood up suddenly, waving his bottle. Attention, Goodsprings! Science has arrived to improve your miserable post-nuclear existence. The saloon went silent. Rick, please don't start. I've invented quantum caps. Each one is a mini reactor that powers your homes and your gambling addictions. Efficient, portable, and only slightly carcinogenic. He scattered bottle caps glowing faintly blue across the floor. Within seconds, they started humming, then buzzing. A faint crackle filled the air. Rick, they're vibrating. Yeah, that's the quantum instability. They might explode or open a small wormhole to Nuka World. Science is all about risk. Moments later, the saloon's jukebox short-circuited, the lights dimmed, and one of the caps emitted a laser beam that carved a perfect circle into the ceiling. The crowd screamed and scattered as a floating iBot drifted in through the hole, playing Johnny Guitar on repeat. Rick shrugged. Okay, maybe I should have tuned the plutonium harmonics. Whoops, aftermath. When the chaos settled, the saloon was half on fire. Goodsprings' water pump was now a mild portal to another dimension, and Victor the robot was learning to moonwalk. Doc Mitchell approached, wiping soot from his brow. Mr. Rick, I appreciate your help, but maybe next time, don't improve things so hard. Rick smirked, pulling Morty toward the street. Can't stop progress, Doc. Besides, we've got a desert to conquer. Viva Las Vats, baby. As they walked off into the glowing sunset, tumbleweeds rolled past burning whiskey barrels. Morty groaned, Rick, are we seriously heading toward Vegas? I don't even have shoes anymore. Rick burped, flipped a glowing cap in his hand, and grinned. Morty, it's New Vegas. You don't need shoes when you've got chaos. Fade out. Cue Fallout guitar riff.